Hey, thanks for listening to this Trainer Spotlight episode on Fitlete Radio. My name is George Pagan III. Let's meet our coach.
My name is Dal. I'm a nutrition coach, a mom. My background actually, surprisingly, wasn't in nutrition or any sort of science. I have a degree in criminology and sociology, and for most of my life, I worked in administration in law enforcement. And after having gone on my own weight loss journey, I lost 120 pounds and decided that this is something that I really wanted to do. And, my mission really is to help women break free from the cycle of yo yo dieting and like the all or nothing mindset thinking, and really just learn how to work within the parameters of their lives and achieve sustainable lifelong change.
I know you're an awesome coach and take your job seriously, but to get to know you a little bit more, can you tell us a funny story about your life that happened outside of coaching?
Okay, so funny stories. I'm sure a lot of people have stories from their past. And so when we were in our teens, I remember my sister and I and a friend of ours would take my mom's car out to go cruising. Now, for context, my mom had a driving school, so it was a driving school car equipped with two steering wheels, two sets of brakes, and gas pedal. And I remember one night we decided, hey, let's go cruising. And we stopped at a red light. It was a T, and was waiting to make a left turn. My friend decided, who was in the passenger seat, that she did not want to wait, so she made the left turn at a red light. Unbeknownst to us, there was a cop car behind us. Now, I was in my teens, so obviously I didn't realize he was right behind us. Pulled us over. I got issued a ticket. Of course, I was going to take the blame for that because I was scared in the moment of what if my mom finds out. So, anyways, that, and then we used to take her car around, and if we're waiting at like say green light, waiting to make a left turn, I would just take my hands off the wheel and put them up in the air, and my friend would take the turn, be like, "Oh my God, no hands! Look at me, I'm driving." I don't know. At the time, it was pretty funny, and we still laugh about it today. Just the stupid stuff that we did. And my mom was not aware that we were doing these things, and she never did find out. But we do laugh about it today and tell her the stories, and she just shakes her head. So yeah, good times.
We can't train everyone exactly the same. Our clients come to us having different life experiences and sometimes force us to think outside the box when it comes to their training. As a coach, how do you problem solve with your clients who come to you with some common aches, pains, injuries, some physical limitations, or previous traumas so they can still get the results that they want and the ones that they came to you for?
Okay, so as a nutrition coach, I may not be programming someone's workouts, but I am helping them navigate their nutrition around real life. So things like emotional eating, or even past experiences with toxic coaching or dieting, and breaking free from like conditioned beliefs or misconceptions around nutrition in general. So when someone comes to me with those things, my first step is always to slow down and listen. I want to understand the full picture and not just what they're eating. So, like, what's the story behind the pain or the fear? Where are they feeling stuck? A lot of people come in thinking they need more discipline, but when in reality, they need more compassion, more strategy, and a plan that actually respects what they're going through. So, we work together to problem solve. If someone, for example, has a lot of weight to lose, like I did, their movement may be limited. So, we'll talk about how that's something we can work on slowly, and maybe in the interim we'll just focus on nutrition and tracking or food choices or even their expectations. And maybe this isn't the season to chase fat loss, and maybe it's a season to focus on consistency, nourishment, or healing. It's basically showing them that pivoting and focusing on other areas isn't failure, but rather doing things differently. So helping them understand that this is all learning and practice. Same goes for emotional limitations or food related misconceptions, beliefs, that sort of stuff. Like if a client has a history of restriction or binging or toxic messaging from past coaches or programs, like I'm not throwing them in aggressive protocols at all. So we start slow and build awareness, maybe focus on meals that feel safe and satisfying. Maybe the win might be eating 3 solid meals a day, and all of that counts. So to me, problem solving isn't about pushing harder, it's about building trust, and with me and also with their own body. So I want clients to walk away knowing that even in a challenging season, I can still take care of myself, and that's ultimately the goal.
Just like we are, most of our clients are spending time on social media and can get information from other people in their family and social circles. When questions come up during coaching calls and training sessions, how do you address some of the common misconceptions around nutrition and exercise with these clients?
So, first of all, I will never make clients feel stupid for believing something that's been drilled into them for years, because I know I've been through it and I believed a lot of these claims. So, whether that's carbs make you fat or 1,200 calories is the goal. Um, I mean, I came from that background too. So, again, I'm fully aware how deeply ingrained those beliefs can be. So, I'll tend to just remind them, like, hey, you were taught this probably over and over, and often by people who sounded really convincing or like had a certain body type. Maybe it's the era that they grew up in. The diet culture was strong in the 90s and 2000s when I grew up, so I get it and I've lived it. So instead of shutting it down with the flat out, that's wrong, I'll always just start by validating the why behind their belief. Then we can explore the reality together. I'll kind of say things like, I hear what you're saying. Can I offer you another way to look at it? And then I'll bring in context. So whether it's education or lived examples, even my own experience, I might walk them through like, things like metabolism, energy needs, or how under eating and like living in two extremes of the spectrum, constantly oscillating between the two, and how that can seem like they're dieting all the time when in fact they're not, and how all of these things ultimately can be a big part of why they're feeling so stuck. Um, but most importantly, I give them proof from their own experience. So, hey, kind of, do you remember last week when you actually ate more consistently, or how your energy was better? Maybe you hit more steps. Maybe you weren't ravenous at night like you have been. So, talking to them in a way that brings in their personal experiences and they can kind of correlate the two. So I'm always highlighting the wins that they might not even realize, because what feels small to them is actually huge in the bigger picture. It's those like subtle shifts that build the trust and momentum and real change and over time. So it's a mix of, I'd say, compassion and accountability. I won't let clients cling to a myth if it's clearly sabotaging them. And I also won't shame them for believing it. So we just replace the misinformation with empowerment and not just facts. Um, I guess at the end of the day, I want them to walk away thinking that like that actually makes sense to them and that they feel better because of it.
Our clients can come to us for many reasons, and often they tell us in their consultations or new lead questionnaire that they have multiple goals or they're trying to work on a couple of things. Usually it's not just one sole specific thing. How do you approach goal setting with these clients who have multiple objectives when you ask them about what their goals are?
So this happens often. Someone will sign up and they'll be like, okay, I want to lose weight, build muscle, maybe get stronger, maybe heal my relationship with food, maybe work on my sleep, or just finally stop binge eating. And all of them are totally valid. But I always remind them we can do all of those things, not just all at once. And so the first thing I do is try to get clear on what their biggest goal is, like in the moment right now. Maybe what's impacting them the day to day the most, and what could create the biggest ripple effect. So, because sometimes someone thinks that fat loss is the priority, but really maybe it's just building consistency with food or movement first, or just learning to live at maintenance. So, it's very client dependent. So, once we find the clear focus, I explain that the rest doesn't go away. It just gets kind of sequenced. It's not like either or, it's actually first, then, then this. So that helps kind of reduce the overwhelm too. We're not chasing every single metric each week either. So we're just locking in usually one behavior at a time and then letting that build the foundation for what's next. And it looks different for each client. Some may be able to focus on more than one thing, but ultimately it's about keeping it doable and what realistically fits within the parameters of their lives. And that is my personal and professional mantra: work within the parameters of your life. And that's what I really came to the realization really early in my journey, and what I feel was very much successful for me, just following what I could do and what was doable for me. And so going back to the client, I will always check for like hidden conflicts. So, for example, like if someone is saying they want to gain muscle, but also be in a big deficit, we'll just talk honestly about what's required for each goal, what season in life they're in, and what trade-offs they're willing to make. And sometimes they don't know at that very moment, but it's something that we work through as we go through the process. So my job as a coach is to take a big messy ball of goals and untangle it into a timeline that actually makes sense for their life, not one that they see on Instagram. So we just move with intention, and not necessarily urgency. At least that's the goal.
I believe all coaches should have similar baseline knowledge before starting to work with people. And I'm building Fitlete to help bridge some of these gaps that exist in our exposure to education. What experiences or qualifications do you think are crucial for coaches to have in order to deliver the best service they can for their clients?
Okay, so this one is a bit tricky, and I'm definitely coming from my perspective, my experience, my opinion, of course. So certifications, of course, they matter, but they're just the starting point, and I feel like the real qualification, at least a part of it, is lived experience, and emotional intelligence. So you can have like every acronym after your name, but if you don't know how to listen, or how to meet someone where they are, or how to ask better questions and hold space when they're struggling, I feel that one wouldn't be an effective coach. So personally, I believe coaches need to also walk the walk and do the inner work as well. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like nutrition related. But like, for example, have they had to build consistency from scratch? Maybe have they struggled with their relationship with food or body image? Have they been in a season where maybe motivation was low and life felt heavy? Just those kinds of things. So that's what gives, I think, a person compassion and context, especially when your clients are going through the same thing. For me, emotional regulation and nervous system work have played a huge role. So, not just in my weight loss, but in my parenting and everyday life. So, for most recently, I completed a mentorship focused solely on that. And because at the end of the day, all of this is connected. So, you have to stay curious, committed to learning, always evolving my understanding of nutrition, behavior change, emotional eating, nervous system regulation, like all of it, because clients are really complex. I know that. I've been there. I know what it was like for me. So, coaching isn't just about handing someone a workout, a macro target, just numbers. I mean, we've done that for years, and we still have an issue with obesity. So it's about helping real people navigate real life. And I'll say this too, though, like a great coach knows when to refer out. So if someone's dealing with disordered eating, like deep trauma, or like some sort of chronic injury, um, I want them to have the right support. And so that's like, for me, that's not backing away. That's me protecting them and helping them and supporting them in a way that is actually going to benefit them. So, yes, credentials open the door like they have for me, but I feel like it's a character of the coach that determines what happens inside.
Our industry is evolving every step of the way, and we're getting to the point where it's essential to have some sort of technology within your business for both the experiences you can deliver for your clients and your ability to grow sustainably. How do you use technology to assist you in your coaching as a coach and behind the scenes as a coach that nobody really sees?
So, I'll be honest, technology isn't a huge part of how I coach. Though I do use it intentionally and not just to add more noise, more and more finding that simplicity is key. So for my clients, tech helps with structure and connection to a degree. So I keep it pretty simple. I'll use tools like Google Sheets for check-ins or habit tracking because my coaching is really centered around relationship and not just data. So the real work happens in our conversations. I use video calls to create a space where clients feel safe to share both wins and challenges. I'm a pretty high touch coach and I want my clients to feel supported between calls too. So we stay in touch using tools they're already familiar with. For example, today I had a client just reach out, text, and say, "Hey, what do you do when you feel discouraged?" And I didn't have any calls at the time. I just text back and said, "Hey, let's chat." And so we got on a call, talked for about 20 minutes. And in that moment, what that client needed was just support and like someone to listen to. So that's what I mean when I say high touch. So it's not, for me, it's not about micromanaging. It's about building a system that supports accountability without the obsession. So if someone is tracking food, I'll help them look at the patterns and not just the numbers. Maybe we notice blind spots. Or if they're struggling, I'll go back to my check in notes or progress logs so that we can reflect on them together. And that shared log of their process, that's what builds kind of trust and confidence over time, where we do go back and reflect on past experiences and the progress that's being made. And it's happening in real time, and we're having these conversations in real time. So behind the scenes, tech helps me keep my business organized. So just simple things like onboarding, scheduling, billing, and emails. It's all streamlines so that not only myself, but my clients can focus on themselves and not logistics. I'm really aware of tech fatigue as well. So if a client is overwhelmed, we just scale it back. Sometimes it's pen, paper, simple check ins, because these fancy tools don't matter if they don't help the client follow through. So yeah, tech is useful, but it's not the coach. So the coaching is in the conversations, the problem solving, and the trust we build and the relationship. Tech just supports that process for me, at least in my coaching.
Dal, thank you so much for coming on and sharing some great info about yourself. I met Dal because I'm in the 6 degrees of Andrew Coates, and like many others, Dal is too. I think she has a great origin story and an immense amount of compassion and empathy with her approach to coaching, which is why I think we connected so well when we met at the Real Coaches Summit 2025. Our friends group merged together at some of the after hour socials, and it was a a big pleasure to get to know her and some of the friends that she had made at the conference. I think the Andrew Coates connector energy is rubbing off on her because she seamlessly introduced me to the people that she had met and the people that were around her. I'm glad you got to know her a little bit more through this episode. Check the show notes to see how to connect with Dal best. That's all for this episode. If you want to learn more about Fitlete and possibly get your own episode, please visit fitlete.com. That's Fitlete.com. Thanks. I'll talk to you soon.